We do have a fascination with grave robbing and body snatchers, do we? So who were these people? Initially, body snatchers were medical students. They needed fresh cadavers for their studies. So they would go out in groups and rob the graves. You also had the grave diggers themselves. Being a grave digger was quite a poorly paid profession, so they were quite easily bribed. And they would let the students know about any fresh burials, or quite often or not, they would just get involved and do it themselves. You also had criminal gangs. Because it was big business and a lot of money was involved, criminal gangs sprung up. Edinburgh had at least 3 criminal gangs of body snatchers. Glasgow and Aberdeen had them as well. And these gangs were quite often willing to take the risks that were involved. So what were these risks? Well, in the eyes of the law, it was a bit of a mess. People and bodies were not regarded as property, so you couldn't steal a person. So when you think about it in terms of property, the experienced grave robbers would quite often leave behind the burial shrouds and any belongings that were in the grave themselves. So if you were caught and charged with body snatching, you were more likely charged with desecrating or damaging a sepulchre, or even breaking and entering into the coffin itself. I'm sitting in cool churchyard, and it's a lovely, lovely little churchyard. And behind me, over my shoulder, is a Mort house. We'll look at that in a minute. If we rewind the clock back early 1800s, before the Mort house was built, a funeral had just taken place, and the local men, fearing the worst, decided to hide out somewhere here in this churchyard. And their fears were met because through the night a gang of grave robbers turned up, or as they were quite often called, resurrectionists. A fight ensued and the grave robbers ran off, leaving behind all their tools and equipment. And funnily enough, as if by coincidence, the grave digger for this cemetery was never seen again. and that's part of the reason communities would build Mort houses and get Mort safes, because you just couldn't trust anybody, especially when money was involved. Old Kinnernie churchyard with the remains of St Mary's chapel here, and it's just really the foundations that are left. But here in the foundations there's 2 fine examples of Aberdeenshire Mort safes. Slightly overgrown, 2 really nice examples. This is Kirkton of Tough churchyard, and down here we have a Mort safe, and it's a variation to the Aberdeenshire Mort safe. As you can see, it's got the nice iron lattice, however the granite slabs are at either end. This was probably intended for single use only. This is Clatt churchyard, and here we have steps that lead down to a subterranean Mort house. The door's blocked up, and even though there's a window in the door, it's blocked up also, so you can't see anything inside. This is Kirkton of Culsalmond Old Churchyard, and here we have a dual watch house and Mort house, pretty much hidden by the ivy and the bushes. But the watch house was on top and the upper levels, and the lower level is where the Mort house is. I will investigate it in a minute, but as you can see, it's a wee bit overgrown. Shall we go in? I've came back out, forgot my torch, so it's obviously it's quite dark in there. Another beautiful example of a Mort house, and it's so good it's open and it's still got the original iron door from back in the day. As you go down the steps in it, the Mort house, it's got a vaulted ceiling, and along the back wall there's actually lines along the back wall, and that would have been where the shelves would have been and the coffins would have been stored. So it's a really good example, and the fact that it can be accessed, again, it's just brilliant that we have these things here. It's just a shame that the watch house is locked as well, but hey ho, cheers.